What's going on? This is Greg Helbeck. Welcome to this week's REI lesson. And on this week's video, I'm going to teach you how do you flip land and make a lot of money, right? So if you're interested in learning how to make money flipping land, and I'm talking like infill land in expensive areas. I'm not talking about doing land deals in the middle of nowhere. That obviously works. The land that I'm familiar with is land in urban infill areas. And if you're not familiar with infill land, that just means that you're doing land deals basically in subdivisions in neighborhoods. That's all that, or cities, right? So if you're not familiar with me, my name is Greg Helbeck. I've done well over, probably at this point, 135 deals, been a full-time real estate entrepreneur for a while, learned a lot of lessons, made a lot of mistakes, and the goal of these videos are for the listeners to hear my mistakes or my successes and learn from them so you can obviously apply that in your own life and in your own business. So I'm going to talk about how do you flip land? How do you do this, right? So the first thing that I do if I'm getting a deal, and it's going to be a land deal, and once again, I'm talking about urban infill land. This is not rural, vacant, property that's not zoned, right? The first thing I'm doing is you got to look for the zoning. So you got to understand that piece of land. Or if you're doing, if you're in like Long Island or San Diego, or even in the Hudson Valley in like Westchester, what is the zone of the house or what is the zone of the land, right? So you have to look at the zoning, right? So you're going to get an address. Usually the address is going to be a normal address like 123 Maple Street or whatever. And you want to look at that address and you want to see what the zoning is, right? Because if you're buying property, right, and it's on a conforming lot, that means that the lot is already if the lot is already allowed to have a single family house built on it, it's much easier, right? If you look at the zoning and the zoning on that land is not residential 1, 2, 3, or 4 family or multifamily, depending on where you are, and it's commercial zoned or it's agricultural zoned or something like that. If you're infill, it's not going to be our agricultural zone most likely. You're going to have to rezone the property, which is a pain in the ass, major pain in the ass. I wouldn't recommend doing that if you're new. But anyway, let's say you look at the zoning, and I'm going fast here. There's a lot of this, and I'm a lot into this, and I'm going to try to squeeze this into like an 8-minute video, if not shorter. So if you look at the zoning, and the zoning is single family, residential, 2 family, 3 family, 4 family, small multifamily. If the zoning allows for residential development, that's step one. That's a good sign. The second thing you got to do is you got to look at the lot size and see how big the lot is, right? This is extremely important. If you don't do this, it's going to be really hard to do deals, okay? You got to see how big the lot is, right? And you have to make sure if you're doing this, you're in areas that are generally expensive. Like I'm going to talk about in another video, a piece of land I flipped in Westchester. And, Westchester County is one of the most expensive counties in America, right? So you're in high value, dense areas, right? Long Island's the same. Even a lot of the Hudson Valley is similar to that, right? Anyway, so you got to look at the lot size. This is where you got to start picking up the phone and making calls. So when you look at the zoning and you know what can be built on the land and you look at the lot size, you want to call this is specific instruction. You want to call the building department, okay? You want to call the building department and you want to tell them, hey, I have a piece of land in your area, in your town, or your city, your municipality. It's in this zoning, and I know that I can build whatever on it. You got to look at the zoning to determine that. How big of a lot does it need to be in order to build a single-family house, a duplex, a small multifamily apartment building, etc.? How big does the lot need to be in order to build something new, okay? When you ask that question, the building department will tell you. They also might refer you to this E-Code 360, which is basically an online database that shows you how big of a lot you need to have in order to build a certain piece of real estate. And also it'll tell you how big of a property can you build, all right? So I'll say that again. You call the building department, you ask them based on the size of your lot, what can be built there, right? And a lot of the times if it's in an area where there's already sewer hookups and water system hookups, it's a lot easier to do this because you don't have to worry about getting a septic and doing a perk test and doing all this other stuff that's complicated, right? So you want to call the building department and ask them, based on the lot size, how big of a house can you build and what can you build, right? Once you find that out, then, and I'm trying to make this as simple as I can in this video, so bear with me here. Once you know if you can build something or if you can't build something, usually if you can't build something, it's because the lot size is too small and you need to have a bigger lot in order to develop on that. So that's important to know too. Assuming they tell you you can build something on there, then what you do is, depending on the area, you go on Zillow or the MLS or Redfin and you see what new constructions homes have sold for, okay? You're gonna see what new construction homes are selling for in that area. So in my area, like REI, New York, for example, that shit's worth $3 million plus, right? So I know in REI, you're going to build something that's going to be worth at least $3 million, assuming it's a certain square footage in terms of the building. All right. You want to see what new construction's selling for. What is new construction sold for? What is it pending for? What is it active for? Okay. The fourth step, or the next step, I don't know what step I'm on at this point, is you want to see what the builder paid for the property before they developed it, right? So whether they bought raw land or whether they bought a house, knocked it down and built something new, you want to see what builders are paying for those properties. So if you're looking at a sold comp that's new construction, you want to follow that property back through the public records and see what did the builder pay for either the land or what did the builder pay for the house that he knocked down to build a new house on, right? And that's going to give you a gauge on what someone's basically willing to pay you for the lot. Essentially, even if there's a house on it, it's going to be looked at as a lot, even if there is a house, because the builder is going to knock the house down and build something, and he's going to just look at it as land value. So once you know what the builder is willing to pay, you'll know how much you need to offer the seller. And in this case, in land deals, you can make a lot of money because generally, not all the time, generally, a seller, assuming they're not too savvy, is going to be willing to sell land a little bit cheaper than a house because it is just land and someone's going to have to build on it in order for it to be worth something, right? That's how you flip land. You reverse engineer it. So I'll start from the top, or I'll start from the bottom and go work my way back up. And I recommend you check out a following video I'm going to make on a case study on how I flip land and made a lot of money, okay? So number one, you want to see what the zoning is. Number two, you want to see what the lot size is. Number three, you want to call the building department and ask them, based on the zoning and based on the lot size, what can you build on that particular parcel? Number four, you want to go and you want to see what new construction in that town or city is selling for, right? What's it selling for? What is it sold for? So you want to look at active listings. You want to look at sold comparables. You want to look at pending properties, and you want to see what they're worth, right? When they're brand new and they're developed. And the last thing is you want to take a look at all those listings. You want to see what the builder paid for the property before they built the new construction on it. And then that'll give you a gauge for what those lots are worth. And then you can build your profit in there based on the numbers. So that's how you flip infill land. It's fairly straightforward. It's not easy peasy Japanesey as a house would be. If you're an experienced real estate investor, it's pretty straightforward to transition to this. If you're brand new, I mean, if you follow this video, it should definitely help. I'm sure there's more videos online that teach you how to do this. That's how you flip infill land. Follow those steps. And I hope you got value from this video. If you did, please like my channel or like this video and subscribe. Once again, like and subscribe. And if you want to get coached by me, if you want me to teach you how to do this, send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com, and put in the subject, send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com with the subject line coaching. If you want to learn how I have had a lot of success with direct mail, go to directmailclass.com. Once again, go to directmailclass.com. And lastly, if you want to do a deal with me, you want to flip land with me, you want to flip land to me, you want to do some sort of a deal with me, send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com with the subject line deals, and we can talk about how we can work together, whether you want to wholesale me properties or if you want to wholesale properties together and JV them. Send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com with the subject line deals, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.